The general accepted belief within scientists today is that consciousness has somehow arisen from the brain. But Babaji, you experienced in your tapas that in fact the brain and the mind are separate. The consciousness and the brain are independent. Can Babaji explain a little bit about this, how they are separate and the relationship between the brain and the mind, please?
At least for now, we can say the brain is the biological organ in the body which has enabled us to have the consciousness of this world or universe outside our body. And also, in my opinion and my observations during tapas and sadhanas, if the mind was simply had arisen from the brain, then separately we couldn't have controlled the mind. Only through the brain only we would have needed to control the mind. Then any medicine like intoxicating and otherwise which controls the brain, at least for a while everybody thinks so. In my opinion, it simply suppresses the brain's reflections. Through that, the mind also should have become controlled. But experience here is totally different. In spirituality, when we do sadhana like meditation and tapas eventually, without harming the health of the brain, we don't touch the brain in any way. We don't give any medicine, nothing for the brain. Simply we try to withdraw the mind from the reflections of the brain. That's when mind experiences total quietness and also unconscious of the surroundings, its own body, this universe, everything. When deep and practices happen and deeply you go, when the mind starts giving up all its imagination and it becomes quiet and quiet, the more it becomes silent, what you experience is the consciousness of existence, of your own existence, is always there. You cannot make that to disappear. Whereas everything else disappears, at least makes you unconscious of them. Whether it disappears or not, for you it disappears. That is what it is. So like you don't have a conscious of the body or surrounding who comes and who goes when you achieve that samadhi. So based on these experiences, I concluded brain is the biological organ and it has given us the conscious of the external world. Whereas mind is our conscious energy, we ourselves. Because that is where that I-ness feeling always keeps emerging. Among that means I, to tell I may be an imagination, but here what exactly is our own existence, that we are here, we are there, we are in this form. Like that consciousness is always there, our existence. Based on this only, we can definitely tell brain is the biological organ and through the nervous system it is in touch with this universe. It receives message and it passes on the orders also brain. In this process, it reflects everything that it receives or it sends either as a thought process or a visual effect as a vision, what I call. These two things are importantly done. Watching that, the mind catches that and registers in itself as if whatever the brain reflects is the fundamental reality, whereas it need not be. So that is my conclusion and opinion, that the brain and mind are for now it is separate.
Thank you, Babaji. So Babaji mentioned at the beginning that the brain enabled Babaji to know the self. So we need to use the brain as a discrimination tool and it can be used to go towards the self, but also the opposite, to go away from the self as well. Can Babaji talk about this? How it's simply a tool which we can use in both ways.
Yeah, this is a very good question. Whenever we need to think, we need to apply the brains. So we apply ourselves, or we apply our mind onto the brain. Then the imagination crops up. Otherwise, mind itself is a pure consciousness. It doesn't imagine anything, nothing really happens in it. It is purely infinite form, quietly exists. But because the brain is there, it gives us the discrimination power also. Like to think about the real and unreal, about good and bad, all these things in dualities, we are able to think. In this world, when one tries to harm another, one tries to rob another's property, and one tries to help another, one tries to give away his property, like that. We try to discriminate, this is good, this is bad, this is not proper, like that. All these are possible through the help of the brain. When we up in this world, the brain is very important. That helps us to analyze and make a judgment properly. That is how, you see, mind is always in touch with the brain and recognizes an existence and analyzes and makes a judgment. Like this is mine, this is good, this is not good, all these things does happen. So then problem arises if this is absorbed as an imprint by the mind in itself. To itself it absorbs, and it becomes the habit of the mind to think or make a judgment in that way. Like for example, we see some person, that person might be a friend of ours and a very good person, but if we misunderstand, if we don't follow properly, think or make a judgment properly, do not verify, that friend might appear as a foe for us. So that imprint sits in us in the subconscious state, what we can call for now. As a habit it sits. So whenever you come across that person, he would appear as a foe. Oh, this person is not at all good. That is because my mind has adopted that type of thought pattern and has developed that attitude. So thus I have fooled myself without verifying what the truth is. In another terminology here, I would like to say the entire universe that exists, Milky Ways, galaxies, everything exists. Everything exists there. But really nobody knows what it is. In the scientific world, spiritual world, and in anywhere, this might appear a bit awful for one time, but you all think, applying your brains. Every terminology, every definition, every conclusions that we have done through science or technology or so many subjects or even spirituality also, that is all based on our own imaginations. With imagination we define, this is like this, the nature of this, the process is like this, and based on that we keep a name. Like for gravity, we gave the name of gravity. When we utter the word gravity, either we listen or we tell, a certain criteria of meaning occurs to the mind. Oh, this is gravity. Something that is pulling us onto the earth is gravity. Like that. And this is mango. But we really never knew. The first time anybody who would have seen a mango or any fruit, first time, before anybody else would have seen it on this earth, that person wouldn't have known. But he needed to communicate with other people. So he needed a name. He named it as mango. And today that is there. Since ages, probably everybody calls that as a mango. So that is why it is mango. Otherwise, who knows? Suppose if I tell the mango, showing you a mango, this is God. Can you see this? You might make fun. Others may laugh at me. So Babaji has gone mad. He is telling mango. He is showing us mango, but it is mango. He is telling it is God. But for me it is God. If it is God, for one person it is simply a stone because he has imagined it as a stone. We imagine it as God. Another has imagined it. Some sculptor has sculpted it. So that is all what it is. Otherwise this is only a stone. So many atheists may make fun also. Oh, this is only a stone that you are worshipping. Where is your God? Like that. So all these things are based on imagination. So everybody have their own imagination. Once they imagine about a particular thing, that sits in their mind firmly as a fundamental reality, and they become stubborn. This is it. This is apple. This is Newton's law. Whether Newton did not invent anything, he discovered that this thing is there, gravity is there. That's why it is. So that name was given. Like that, the entire universe, name of galaxy, name of the planets, name of the earth, everything is all given name. Nothing was in the nature. Nature simply it existed. Suppose first time you have appeared in the space and you get to see the earth and all these things, you would be wondering what is all this. You don't know what it is. Then slowly when others are coming, so you start naming them for sake of understanding. So every time we imagine for sake of understanding and communication. So that is how this mind and brain has happened. That is how I also tell, brain can be a very good servant but a bad master. You must be using the brain to live in this world. The brain must not use you. Then you become a victim, a slave of whatever the brain reflects. And you won't know about yourself. Thus you have forgotten about yourself, what you really are. When you are unable to see that, observe that, you might simply try to jump into a conclusion. This consciousness mind has arisen from the brain only. It's a byproduct of the brain, like that one. If that was so, easily that could have been controlled. And one wouldn't have been able to separate the mind, detach the mind from the brain's, what I would like to call as the clutches or reflections, and then realize that as the self. That you realize that this is the existence of me. Though there is no I is coming, nobody is telling this is the I, this is the I there. But you are feeling that, your own existence, without any definition, without any imagination. For a while, let us not even imagine it as a self, as God, as the Atman, as soul, nothing, no imagination. That's what happens when you achieve the Nirvikalp Samadhi. No definition is there. Not the I is there, everything has disappeared. The seer and seen has gone. But one single self exists. It is always there. So that is how we would go into a conclusion by observation. Observation is important. And also that is what in spirituality, they never jumped into any conclusion. They spoke, they gave name, they tried to talk about it. Like Tattva, Parabrahman, divine in nature, all these things they spoke. But they said, this is inconclusive, it is boundless. Ananta is the Sanskrit word they have used for boundlessness. This is all. It is not simply this is all. It is much beyond. Whatever we are talking is only for sake of understanding. We are imagining. That's how the great teachers have told. That's why Adi Shankara also told, when you come face to face in your consciousness, and when that consciousness is not into any type of imagination, know that existence as the truth of existence. That has the existence value. The rest all have the appearance value only.
So Babaji, the ultimate aim in meditation then is really to bypass the brain, to completely delink from the brain's reflections, and for the mind to just simply be on itself. Is that right?
Definitely. Because whatever the brain reflects, it reflects about this world, about the imaginations only. It cannot reflect anything about us. Whatever it reflects, it simply generates another imagination. So that's what it happens. It simply comes. So that is how finally, through the practice of meditation, we are able to withdraw from the clutches of the brain and we are able to realize our existence as totally separate. It is a different thing. Some schools have thought this universe exists in the divinity. It has not appeared at all. It has illusion. But for now, I would like to talk only of the impermanence of this universe. Nothing much. We don't have to discuss and waste our time. What is more important is, before death happens to the body, we need to become realizing our own real self, how we exist. Some existence must be there. That's why we are feeling that we exist. That's what the ancient sages felt. What is this existence? How can we know? And then when they analyzed, they understood if we need to know about ourselves in true sense, keen observation is important. That keen observation is the beginning of meditation. That's what the master teacher, just to watch in between eyebrows, means so that you can give up all other imaginations and you should be able to watch that who is watching. That's what important. So thus you slowly reach to your real self, giving up all other imagination. You don't have to bother whether the world exists or does not exist. Simply we have to give up imaginations about the world and jumping into conclusion those imagination as the fundamental reality. We need to understand everything is imagination. These imaginations are useful for us to live in this world, but need not be the truth of existence. We are enacting a drama in this world. For that it is useful. You are Zen, it is useful. I am Shivarudra Balayogi, it is useful for this drama that I am a master and you are a student. This is also a drama and you are asking a question, I am answering. That is all. Further, we should not go into any conclusion. These things as the truth of existence. Truth of existence is beyond the brain or beyond. You bypass the brain as you are telling in the question also. You have to bypass, come away from the brain. You don't have to depend on the brain. Then only you realize yourself. Otherwise, you will simply depend always on whatever the brain reflects. It's like the brain, how the servant is. You have a servant, you are sitting in your bedroom and somebody rings the bell, calling bell. Your servant goes and your servant sends him away. No, my master cannot meet you now, you go away. Then he comes and tells you, Master, somebody came, I didn't want you to meet him and I sent him away. How bad it is. He is only a servant. He is supposed to come and inform you that somebody has come to see you. As the master, you have to decide whether you will meet that person or not. So that is how, if the servant becomes the master, you will become a victim. That might have been a very dear person to you, a relative of you, a mother or a father. So that servant would have sent him away. So like that, if we totally depend on brain for everything, just go on listening, we will be fooling ourselves. We won't get time to know our own self, real self. So that's why we have to bypass this brain, withdraw ourselves, detach ourselves. That is the practice of meditation will take you if you follow the instructions properly. Just watch. You just have to watch. When you are simply watching, you are not depending on the brain. At that time, you are simply becoming quiet. When you become quiet, you achieve that peace within you, that you are at peace.
Thank you, Babaji. In everyday life, as we're using our brain to analyze and make judgments, Babaji has talked about how we can use the brain to its maximum potential, to its focused potential with the mind. Is it possible to do this, but also be detached and have that awareness that it is just like a movie that Babaji talks about?
Yeah. Simply we need to be aware that we are acting in the movie. Act everything perfectly. Need to cry, you cry. Need to laugh, you laugh. Need to get annoyed, you get annoyed. But you be aware that you are simply acting within you. You remain unaffected. That's what is self-realization. Once you achieve, you will do everything in this world, whatever that is needed. Simply detach means you need to be aware that you are only acting and you are not this body all the time. This body, after some time, this body goes. The movie is being shot in different locations and actors, everybody is enjoying. But if actors start crying when the movie shot is all finished, they are going to release it to be seen by the world on the screen. That's simply like an illusion, a make-believe thing that is produced. Like that here also. One day this is going to come to an end. We cannot afford to keep crying, oh, why this body is going. That was all the role played and the script is over. Finish. So like that, the world, we and imaginations all play different roles. We have to be alert and remain detached so that we don't get carried away by our own acting.
And Babaji, as the mind becomes more and more quiet, does the brain actually stop reflecting so much? Or does it start to reflect in a better way, in a more sort of mature way?
Yeah, definitely. If the mind is purified, now suppose by practice of meditation and tapas, mind has given up all its acquired habits. It was keeping such a habit of thinking without giving it up. It was not giving it up. Suppose I am acting as a villain in the movie. I don't want to give up that villainy. All the time I am holding. So that is troublesome. So once that is over, I have to give up. I am no more villain. I am the back normal personality. Like that here also. Whatever we have been holding in the mind has a habit. So that has made us to think about ourselves, about this world, about others. We have jumped into such conclusions. Oh, this man is wicked. Oh, I am a very great personality. Like that, everything we have concluded. Whereas nothing is true. We need to become detached. We need to understand. So then, if we apply the brain, then that purified consciousness, when it is now focused, whenever it's purified, it has focused means it has become concentrated. When it is concentrated, it is tremendously powerful. When that mind applies the brain, will be a great matured. Like whatever such a yogi thinks, applying the brain, he will think of a larger cause. If I am happy, why not the whole world be happy? Why not all humans live for each other? Why should we always be against each other? What are we going to achieve? Some million rupees, some $1 million, some bungalows, some emperorship, that is all. Then one day this body dies. What are we going to achieve? Like this, if we able to think. So I have always also told, if people practice meditation, when their minds become purified, when they apply the brain, they can live like a genius. Their observation power and after observing, understanding power also. They both all equally important. When you see this world, what do you understand from this world? You ask 50 people may have their own 50 opinions. That is all they have understood. Suddenly one person comes and pours milk on me, oh you are God, you are everything, like that. And another person comes, takes a shoes and hits on my head, you are no more, you are nobody, you are not at all God, this is all nonsense. That is their understanding. One person understood like this, another person understood like this. Their imaginations. Whatever they imagine, they gain or they lose. I have neither to lose anything nor to gain anything. I am in myself, simply quiet. I know that truth. So, we remain unaffected. So, that is how the mind will not get affected, but the mind will be able to use the brain, observe, and also understand. That understanding capacity. That's what the great sages understood. They understood that self as divine in nature. Why? If we adopt the remembrance or meditation, remembrance, highest pitch is meditation, of that in our mind, that can give us happiness and also wash away our sins. Sins means we were going away from our real self in imagination since time immemorial. It will bring us back to self. Then we become aware of ourselves. Thus we have overcome our own sin. Here sin means a grave mistake. We did a grave mistake by going away and away, carried away by our own imaginations, life after life, we got involved, and then we started forgetting that we were imagining, and we have started wondering, what is this destiny? Why is this happening to me? What can stop this destiny? So many confusions and so many puzzles, everybody, and nobody wants to know the truth by observing. That observation only can make one understand the truth. So that's how then you overcome. That is the sin. A grave mistake has happened. We need to go back to ourselves. Then we will know what the truth of our own existence is. My God, one day when you realize, it will be like coming out of a mental asylum. You would be wondering what all I would have behaved in this world of mental asylum. Now I am really liberated like that, mentally, in our consciousness, from our own assumptions, from our own definitions, from our own imaginations, liberated. That's what is liberation also. So that is how, when you practice meditation, you can be a very matured person. You would like to share this knowledge and wisdom to each and every one. If only everybody can meditate and know this truth. You don't have to believe me simply. You meditate and know the truth to yourself, Swamiji said. That's why our Guru always said, know yourself by meditating. You know, and then you tell me what it is. Great Gurus in the great scriptures also has told, always, they have never jumped into conclusion. This is it, this is the gravity, this is mango. Like that they have never told. After explaining all the truth about self and the divinity, tattva, anything, finally they have told, this is my opinion. This is my experience, my observation. Now I would like you also to adopt such methods, practice this truth to yourself, and then you tell me your opinion, what it is. Then both the master and the student became silent. There was nothing else.
Baba, there was a question from Ryan, which is, what is the relationship between the condition of the brain and the mind? For example, when the brain is in poor health due to a physiological condition or disease, does the state of the brain alter the type, quality, and power of those thoughts?
In this world, that thing can affect the mind. To live in this world, to know about this world, if the health of the brain is affected, that is one truth we all have to understand and accept. When you observe, this is what it is. But the mind itself can remain healthy when it practices meditation, when it realizes itself, it is in itself. Suppose I am a yogi, not to claim or boast, just to tell as an example, I am a yogi. I have realized myself. But if any damage happens to the brain in this body, I won't be able to operate properly. I won't be able to teach the truth to anybody. In this body, one might be behaving like a, what you call it as mentally deranged or mentally challenged or something like that. That's what will happen. We have to take care. If it is not really damaged, if we take care of the mind, if we meditate, we can keep the brain also very much healthier in many cases. Until and unless it is really not damaged, we don't have to consider that it is damaged all the time. So if we practice meditation, we can use and understand the brain also in a much better way. Self-confidence grows. Self-confidence. We won't be belittling ourselves unnecessarily. So we will achieve supreme peace. We will be able to use the brain in a much better way. So that's what would happen. I would recommend everybody to practice meditation. I would recommend Rian also. And we recommend that you practice meditation. You can overcome the general problem that you are facing at this moment. Maybe it's because of the brain, and you should not neglect yourself. If you practice and work it out, then you can overcome these effects of the brain's reflection. You will be all right.
Pranam Babaji. Babaji, I have a question. In your book, His Master's Grace, Babaji, during the time of tapas, in the time of you were moving the directions, the deities appeared and repeated a mantra, and you remembered the mantra when Swamiji asked. So, was that mantra in the brain or in the mind at that time? And what is the relationship of the mantra being registered in the brain and the mind at the time of the tapas?
The brain absorbs and keeps it in its memory. And if the mind is properly able to apply the brain, then it regains that memory and is able to chant that mantra properly. That's how the memory in this world works. Otherwise, the mind does not and need not have any memory or anything to chant. Nothing, it is in silence. But as far as the mantra chant is concerned, it is the brain which also absorbs, which keeps in its memory. Whenever the mind gets applied onto the brain, the mind regains that memory through the help of the brain and is able to chant that mantra. That's how happened to me in the tapas. Means, you see, one important sentence, all of you listen to me. While I was doing tapas and totally detaching the mind from the brain's reflections, taking control and becoming aware of myself, the brain was kept healthier. Brain did not get affected. Anytime it needed for me to remember anything, to absorb anything, it was there. So my student, my servant was always there in service of me. Simply I was absorbed in the self. So whenever I needed, I could use my brain.
Okay. Thank you, Babaji. Thanks.
Babaji. My question is this: when you speak of this all-pervading divinity and all-pervading consciousness within our body, where is this? Is it in every cell? Where is it within our body? All-pervading.
Every cell, every out of the cell, every in the cell. It is simply spread, just like the space is spread. You cannot tell that just the space is inside the cell or outside the cell. Like that, it is. The space is that divinity actually. That is the greatest wonder. No matter cells, microns, protons, anything that you count through the science and technology, it is everywhere, in and out. It is inside and it is outside, because it is simply, and everything is in the space, whether it is cells or anything. That's what you will realize one day.
Pranam Babaji. My question is, I understand intellectually the real and the unreal, as you say, but how does one maintain that focus of mind and bring that same quietness to the mind during challenging times? If I had enjoyed a certain quietness and bliss in meditation previously, how do I capture that again? Because now, suppose some family members are having health issues, etc. So mind gets diverted. It is not so easy to actually bring the focus and enjoy that same bliss.
I understand. This happens to anybody. So you can assure yourself, think about it. Simply by worrying, I would not be able to help anybody. Instead, if I keep my mental status intact, and if I am better, I might be able to attend to our relative, whoever is dearer to us. if there is any health issue, any problem, I might be able to help others. So just like I get to see so many people in trouble, I listen to their troubles, I give them counseling, but I cannot afford to go into that tense situation myself mentally. If I lose my peace, I won't be able to help anybody. I have to be careful, awareness of myself all the time keeping, and assure others, give counseling to others. Whatever way that's possible, I have to help them. Like that also, if you also reassure yourself and try to think that simply by worrying we cannot help anybody. Instead, we should try whatever is possible we have to look after. If they belong to ours, if we have a responsibility, we just look after it as a tapas. So then that serves as a tapas, then your mind recedes and remains in composure. All the time keep praying to the divine master. The master you look after. I will try whatever is possible. The rest you have to bless me. You have to take care of me. And never lose that faith that the divine master will take care. Then you will have peace.
Thank you, Babaji.
Babaji, I'm curious, as I'm understanding it, meditation helps the mind to be clearer and healthier, we could say. And does meditation also help the brain to not reflect such confusion to the mind?
It is the mind which needs to be perfect in itself. It is not, we cannot simply say that the brain is trying to commit some mistake or wrong thing. Just like it is an instrument, like the computer, it simply reflects for whatever it is programmed to. We need to be able to discriminate what is right, what is wrong. We should be able to gain this understanding capacity better by meditating and keeping the mind concentrated, focused and purified. So that's when you practice meditation, this will automatically become possible for you, that you would use the brain in the best possible way. So that is what you have to be. Otherwise, if you can get confused. You don't have to be confused. You should be able to discriminate using the same brain again. What is real, what is not real. That is the essence of the Viveka Chudamani of Adi Shankaracharya, crest jewel of discrimination. So if you read that book also, you will understand much better of these things. How keeping the mind totally clear of any confusion, you should reapply the brain again. The brain reflects and again use the same brain to understand much better.
Thank you.
So Babaji explains that the consciousness is not, you can't say it's in any particular location, has any shape or form or anything, and we can't touch it. But somehow this consciousness is in collision with this physical organ, the brain. Can Babaji give some little insight into how this happens? If it seems that physical matter and consciousness shouldn't be able to actually be in collision together somehow.
This is the greatest mystery. Definitely there is no conclusive answer. Even in tapas, when you observe also, 100% conclusively, it's very difficult. Which came first and which has become what, why this happened. Only this much we could observe. These are the things. And that's why a master teaches without getting confused, without trying to know the root cause, why it happened, how did it happen, because you might be wasting time and you might get carried away. It could be very mind-boggling. Simply realize the self, get rid of the problem. Realizing the self means try to liberate yourself from these clutches. And then you, as long as the body is there, try to use the brain, and when that brain is going to die, take care that you are not reborn again or reincarnated or get to see the drishya again. Because this one thing is such an amazing illusion. Very difficult to come out of this clutches. What happened, which happened, why did this happen is really very thing. But many places, if we try to think, with the help of the brain only, we are able to discriminate. Finally, we are able to realize that we exist also. Otherwise, when we go to our own existence, abide by ourselves, actually, you don't even experience your existence also, that you exist, because there is nothing, no experience, simply exist. So that is the awesome, wondrous thing. With the help of the brain, we are able to realize this. Probably, in my opinion, the same supreme consciousness brought this matter in such a way that through the help of which you can realize your own existence and you can understand your greatness, the value of peace, so many things that you have as the self. This is not a thing that to be boasting, but to understand the value of it. Like you are the source of supreme peace. This also is possible when you lose the peace due to the brain's reflections. Like with the help of the brain, finally when you realize that you exist, in duality only the existence is experienced. When the duality is lost, non-duality comes. The existence is also not experienced at all. No experience is there. It's beyond all experiences, that place. That thing is impossible to teach conclusively. Only when one achieves the samadhi, if at that time we explain, this is the words of Vasistha in Yoga Vasistha. Like Sri Rama asks the same question. Okay, I understand everything is illusion, Maya. But how did this Maya came into existence and why? Just like the brain is the same thing, matter. You use a different terminology. How did the matter came into existence? How this collision or collusion both happened together? Why? What was the necessary? This is another question people ask. What was the necessary to create? Whereas this creation has no use for the self, for the divine. So this is probably, these are the certain things that comes to our observation. Then only in duality only you experience your values, your existence. And when you lose a certain thing, then you understand the value of that. When the master goes away in the physical form, you understand the value of a master being in the physical form. When the master is there in the physical form, many people take it very lightly. They don't take it seriously. What a knowledge could come. So this type of knowledge could come from Swamiji, our Guru, for me. We utilized. That's how today, by his grace, I am able to share these truths to all of you. When the question is inspiring, answer will also be inspiring. Always this happens in duality if you try to understand. If the student is sincere and wants to know the truth sincerely, then it becomes very inspiring for the master to teach. The master has achieved the truth. If that is what the student wants, then that could be inspiring to the student. A master need not be inspiring to everyone. If one wants a lottery ticket, then a yogi will not be inspiring for a person who wants only lottery ticket. If one wants the self, one wants supreme peace, that is the truth, then a master can be inspiring. So this is the peace. This is the value of existence. This is how we understand. This is how, through the help of brain. Just now when we try to know that through the help of brain only we try to know, we cannot make out that this brain has been created by the consciousness only. This we experience but cannot demonstrate it here now. It's impossible because the conscious only existed always. Because it has the existence value, it has no appearance or disappearance exercises happening, whereas the matter appears, disappears, so it has only appearance value, it has no existence value. So this is my final concluding opinion. I would recommend that you all meditate without bothering much about these mind-boggling things. One day you will also understand when you achieve that total stillness of the mind. All our love and blessings.